And so what Bloom's is it assumes that you have to be able to do everything below the pyramid to do the thing above it. Right? So in order to comprehend something, you have to know about it. In order to apply it, you have to both know about it and comprehend it or understand it. In order to start doing complex things with it, like analyzing it and come up with your own thoughts and opinions, analyze it, you have to be able to know what it is and know what to do with it. Right? This is all about imagining new things, modifying, predicting, combining, right? Synthesis and evaluation, comparing ideas. So the idea is, this is what's known as mastery, right? So if you've mastered your domain, your subject matter domain, and you know everything there is to know, you understand it, you know what to do with it, you've thought about it lots, and then you're awesome. Off you go. So Bloom came up with this idea that there's no point trying to get somebody to do something if they don't know what they're doing. So when you break down in like a learning analysis, do people know what they need to do? Okay, they do. Do they know how to do what they need to do with it? No, they don't. Well, then I probably need to focus my training activity somewhere in this application and comprehension level. This is hard stuff to hit and to prove that you've hit it with a training or learning program. But there's something I don't like about Bloom's. What do you think? What do you think the problems are with either this Bloom's model or this one? You guys all understand the concept of Bloom's. Okay, great. So let's take the bottom level. Like, what's the problem with knowledge, comprehension, or remembering and understanding?
It's also that not everyone's knowledge is the same. So although you might have someone might have a little knowledge, someone has a little bit more. So you're not all starting the same.
There we go. That's the path I was hoping to go down. And what drives the fact that everybody's knowledge is slightly different? Experience, perspective. Right. When did you find the thing out in the first place? Right. What was the context or stimulus or whatever it was that put that knowledge in your head, in your memory, right? That allows you to remember it, because it has to be in your memory for you to remember it. And the problem is, there's how many different types of memory do you think there are? I think, no, right? This is neuroscience, cognitive science, but I'm going to say that there's 5 a little bit later, so let's go with 5. Right, so who thinks they are amazing at counting in basic addition? 1 + 1 = 2. Who thinks, like, man, I've got that down, I've been doing that since I was 4 years old?
We're all waiting for a catch.
Yeah.
There's no catch? What are you talking about?
You came with black balloons,
Those are done.
Those are mouse holes.
Teresa, you've done this before. Do you think you could do it any better this time?
No. I failed math at school.
All right, let me explain what it is, and then if you think you're going to be awesome at it, we'll bring you up. All right, so anybody read Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman? Yeah, do you remember this? It's like the book everyone's read the first 25% of, and then they're like,
Yeah.
And it's an awesome book. Like, a lot of what we know about memory and how people react to things and how you respond to stimuli, right, comes from a lot of this guy's research, right? And he won a Nobel Prize for it, so why shouldn't we look at what he's done? So he came up with this thing called an add-one exercise. And there's a type of memory called working memory. And what working memory is it allows you to store short-term information in your head so that you can do stuff with it. Right? The reason why you're able to say 1 + 1 = 2 is because you can remember 1, 1, 2. Right? You will be able to remember, comprehend, apply, and figure things out. So you moved up Bloom's taxonomy really quickly because you know what 1 and 1 is. And your working memory allows you to store those in your brain for long enough to do something with it, right? But what this add one exercise does is it proves that you're not very good at remembering things, and your memory is not as good as you think it is. And what we're going to do is the number is going to change, the 4-digit number is going to change every 2 seconds. Oh, wait. And it's going to last for a lot less time than you feel like it's going to last, right? And I want you to say it out loud. You guys don't have to say it out loud, but try to do it in your head, okay? It's 2 seconds. You can't count to 4 in 2 seconds? 1, 2, 3. No. Right. Let's see how. What if I told you it was 5 seconds? Would that make it?
That would make it easier.
So it's 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Alright. So what you would do in this situation, you say 4, 9, 3. Okay. So out loud. You guys all go. Okay, cool. Ready?
Okay. 9, 8, 8, 9. 5, 7, 8, 6, 9, 1, 1, 2, 8, 2, 7, 7, 10, 4, 1, 10. 5, 9, 8, 1, 8, 7, 8.
It's exhausted. It goes to the easiest, quickest thing it can think of, right? And for the majority of the people, when you think of a color and a tool, for some reason there's this mental connection you make in your brain from your youth or whatever it is. You think of, most people say red and most people say hammer or spanner or something like that. And like it's because your brain's tired. And your brain was tired because your working memory was exhausted from doing what should be a basic test. I mean, you've been counting since you were 2, 3, adding since you were 3 or 4, and what I'm trying to get at here is remembering the most basic thing, what comes after the number 1, becomes really difficult based upon the environment and the context of what you're trying to do with that. Right? Basic remembering tasks, basic addition tasks become really complex because time pressure. You're asking them, you're standing up in front of people. The task of talking as you do it is near impossible, and we'll get to that in a second. There's another fun game to play that talks about that. But my problem with Bloom's is remembering information isn't that simple, right? Work isn't as simple as what's 1 plus 1, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. Your boss is yelling at you. You got a time crunch going on. If you screw this up, you're going to get fired, whatever it might be. So even remembering basic stuff is not as simple as remembering basic stuff. Right, so I mentioned there's like 5 different types of memory, right? So when you think about getting somebody to remember something, so if you're training somebody to remember something so they can apply it on a job, it's not as simple as remembering it. It's thinking about the stimuli that they're going to get and where in their brain they're trying to recall the information from that matters. If we don't train them or teach them in that manner, then we're not really setting them up for success. So this is adding, a neuroscience level to personalization, or the context of where your learner is going to do the job. Right? It's one thing to do something in the classroom, but it's very different from the job. It's one thing to be good at a flight simulator, but can you do it when you're actually flying the plane? Flight simulators are great because it's very similar. So there's all of these types of memory, right? Procedural skill, right? So it's easy to bucket things into two parts. There's tacit memory and there's explicit memory. So tacit memory is just stuff you know how to do, but you couldn't write it down. You couldn't describe how to do it to somebody. So how do you write down every step there is to driving a car, right? And give me the procedure to swing a golf club and have a perfect, long, straight drive every time. For the love of God, please give it to me. That's tacit type of knowledge. It's just stuff that almost gets embedded into you. Sometimes it's called muscle memory. Sometimes it's procedural memory. It's procedural skill. And it used to be thought of as like the writing the steps to drive a car used to be thought of no one will ever be able to figure out how to write every procedure there is to safely drive a car down the road. And then you got Google driving cars down the road with nobody in it. So this neuroscience stuff's a load of crap. And associative memory, so this is classical conditioning. You got bit by a dog when you were little, and now you're scared of dogs for no good reason, other than it's classical. Non-associative, it's a habit, right? There's a book called The Power of Habit, which I strongly recommend reading, and it's another good book, like Think Fast and Slow, that came out of some studies that were done in the 70s and 80s where people suffered severe brain damage and they lost their long-term memory, right? But what happened was these people were still able to form habits. If they did the same thing enough times, somehow it would become this habitual thing that they learned how to do, even though they had no long-term memory. And the reason I got into this is because I wanted to do these crazy things with games, and I tried to get this, this like habitual. We'll get into the game in a second, but I wanted people to see something and immediately react to it, whether I knew exactly where to go. They didn't have to think; they just did. Right? And because I wanted them to act with confidence, right, and shave time, minutes off the tasks that they were doing. And that's kind of how I got into all this stuff. But it's definitely worth diving in deeper. And I'm not the expert by any means in this. I've taken this down this tangent because I'm going to pull us out of it here in a second. Because it'll all come together in the end. Right. So you guys know what the Stroop effect is. So going back to what we were talking about before, and I'm cheating so I say it exactly correctly. The semantic memory of the word is more striking than the color in which it is printed. The working memory of the task that you have at hand allowed your brain to focus on the color. So you were able to do it, but you had to really, your working memory had to override your brain's natural tendency to want to do the wrong thing. And then, somewhere in your cortex, right, it evaluated what you should do, and then your mouth said it, right? That's a lot going on. The brain's fighting, and I asked you to talk at the same time. And there's, how many are there? There's 16 of them up there. One for each of you. So that's the Stroop effect, and it's a good way to show that, again, just like the add one exercise, right? Recalling basic stuff of what color is that is not as easy as it seems, given the situation that somebody's in. The reason I'm showing all these different types of exercises is this is the reality of your job, right? Most people's jobs. You can give them the processes, you can give them the systems, you can give them a computer, you can talk to them, teach them about products. But at the end of the day, they have to figure out what to do with all that stuff in the context of the situation that they're in, and make a decision, take an action, and then deal with the consequences of that.